So in this video, we want to look at the concept of dividing decimals by what we call powers of 10. And powers of 10 is actually numbers that are like 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. So these numbers are actually 10 times greater than the one before. So if you look at 10, you compare it with 100, 100 is actually 10 times greater than 10. If you compare 100 with 1,000, the same concept. If you should actually compare these things, actually powers of 10, and so it's actually increasing by 10. And so we want to look at how do we actually divide decimals with these kind of numbers. And so, but before we do that, let us revisit our place value system. And so if we can understand the place value system, then we are better able to understand when dividing decimals by powers of 10. And so let us actually put a decimal point right there. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm actually calling numbers that I'm not writing. And so let's look at it. Let's try to identify the place values or the digits that are in their respective place values here. So this one is actually in the tens, and this one is actually, no, this one is actually in the ones, sorry. 1, this is in the tens. If we were to actually add another column, let's say 3, and that's actually be 100, and it continues. Now when we go over to the decimal point, the first digit in the decimal point is what we call the tenths. And some students actually always get this one mixed up because they believe that the first digit is the 1. It's actually in the ones column, but it's not so. And so we actually continue in. So if the first digit is actually tenths, then the second digit will actually be 100. Hundreds. So actually the THS is actually at the end. And so they continue thousands and 10,000 and continues. And so actually understand the different place value of these numbers. And so what we want to look at as relates to dividing these digits by powers of 10. Powers of 10. We want to take note that what the powers of 10, actually does, what the powers of 10 actually do, is to shift the whole numbers, and it's what we call the whole numbers, to the decimal places, or over to the decimal places. And we actually do that by looking at what number as a power of 10 that we're actually dividing the dividend by, because these numbers are actually the divisor, and they'll be dividing the dividend. So just try to understand something. Now, since this digit is actually a tenth, 100, 1,000, 10,000, and so on. Now, if you're dividing a decimal value, a decimal number by 10, let's say 10, then what is actually happening? This 0 is actually targeting the first digit. Let's say the first digit. The first digit in the whole number, which is a 2. Some person might say it is not, but I'm not here to debate that. So what the 10 actually does, it actually, let me clear this up some more. What the 10 actually does, the 10 shifts the first digit, that is the digit that is in the ones place, and shift it in the tens place, and push this number which is in the tens place one step back, and all these numbers will be pushed one step back, because there's only one number that is taken over from the whole number and be placed in the decimal location. And so if you were to divide this by 10, we have 2 divided by 3, but not, sorry, 2.1, 12.314 is divided by 10. What is going to happen now? This 0 would take the first digit, because there's only 1 0 that we have. So it actually takes one number, and the one number is always in the tens. in the one number is actually in the ones. And so what it does, it shifts it. So it removes that 2, and just only leave 1 in the whole number. And that 2 will actually assumes the position of the tens. And the 3, it just read us right back the numbers that were there. And so our answer will actually be that. And let us actually look at another one, because that's all there is to it. And if you say, let's say I have 312.314, we would have any random numbers. And so if you were to divide this by 100, what is actually going to happen is that we have 2 zeros. Therefore, you're going to take the 2 first numbers, and they are going to be shifted 2 steps back, because we are dividing by 100, and this 100 has 2 zeros. And so each number in this digit each number is going to be shifted 2 steps from where they were to the right. And so if you look at it, if we look at it, this is 100, ones, tens. And if you look at it now, this 3 that is in the 100 is going to be shifted 2 places, 1, 2. And look at it. So this 3 now is actually in the ones place. And these numbers are actually going to be shifted to 2 places back. So this one is going to be shifted from the 1 and to the tens. This one is going to be shifted from the ones to the tens to the hundreds. And we just write back the numbers that were there. So each number is actually shifted 2 steps behind. Even the numbers that were there before are actually shifted 2 steps behind. It's because it is dividing by 100. So each time you're dividing by a power of 10 number, look at how many zeros you have in the divisor, and that determines how many steps behind you're actually going to shift the numbers. And so let's look at another one. Let's say we have 12.34. And so we're going to divide this by, let's say divide by 1,000. And so we have 3 zeros. So 3 zeros, that simply means each number is going to be shifted 3 steps to that direction, to the right. And so let us look at it. The zero is going to, so remember that the zeros always interfere with the whole numbers and not the original decimal per se, but it actually affects the decimal by shifting them. But these zeros actually take hold on the whole numbers, and depending on how many zeros we have in the divisor, that tells us what number how many numbers in the whole number are going to be over it's going to be brought over into the decimal location. And so this 0 takes that, and that 0 takes that. This 0 has nothing to take, but we'll actually include this 0 in our decimal. So if all these numbers are shifted from the whole number, then you have 0. There's nothing there in the whole number but 0. And so all these digits will be shifted 3 steps behind. And so if that's the case, you're going to have 0 as the first number. Because if you look at it, let's look at it. If I should shift this number 3 steps behind, you're going to be shifted 1, 2, 3. So the 2 will actually be in the thousands place. And all of these numbers will actually go behind the 2, starting from the 3 and the 1 and the 4. And so if you look at this, it's going to be shifted 1, 2, 3. And that number is this one is going to be shifted and be in the hundreds place. And so since we don't have anything for the substitute to work to shift that, we don't have anything in the whole number to shift that 0 by. We just put that 0. Let's put that 0 where the tens would actually be. And so if you look at it, we have, let's say, because let's say we have 100,000, right? About the 4, the 1, and the, let's say 3, 1, 4. And now, since all of these numbers will actually be shifted, no, we don't have anything here, so let's put this 0 there. And that's that simple. So the thing is that all the numbers will be shifted depending on how many zeros we have in the divisor. as representing powers of 10. Let's do another one. And that's just that simple for the concept. So let's say I have 1,456.7689. And let's say divide this by 10,000. And so we have 4 zeros. That simply means each number is going to be shifted 4 steps to the right. So you could just start, you're going to be basically say, okay, let's say, if I should move this, if these, that's right there. Each step we're going to move 1, 2, 3. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we shifted 4, each digit. And so let's see. This 0 shifts that, this 0 shifts that, that takes that, that takes that. And so we're looking at it in that order. And if you should look at it though, if you, that's just a clear observation, we have 1,000 and we know that we're actually looking at the decimal system, the decimal place value. It doesn't look like the place values, the place values are not named in the order like as the whole number. So the first digit in the decimal is called the tenths. The second is the hundredths, and the third is the thousands, and the fourth is the 10,000, and so on. If you should look at this, we have 10,000 actually dividing this decimal. So what we would actually look at now, this 6 is going to go in the 10,000th place. This is going to be in the 1,000th place. This is going to be in the 100th place, and it's going to be in the 10th place. And we know where these locations are. And so we're just going to simply shift them there. So if all these zeros shift, all of these 4 decimal, these whole numbers are whole number digits, we don't have anything in the whole number, so we just put 0 there. And so this one is going to be shifted in the tens. This is going to be shifted in the hundreds, because actually counting from this. Let's say counting from based on the decimal system, we start from that. So we say 4 is going to be shifted in the hundreds, 5 is going to be in the 1,000, and 6 is going to be in the 10,000. And so we just write back the original decimal that were there. Original decimals that were there. And then there you go. Shifting the digits depending on how many zeros that we have in the divisor. And so let's do another one. So say we have 2.7, let's say 0. Let's say 0, 1, 7. So if I should divide this by, let's say, divide this by 1,000. If you look at it, very, very, very simple. We only have 2 digits. We have 3 zeros. And so each 0 is going to take a number. You actually shift it. So this one shifts that, this one shifts that. We don't have anything for this, so we know what to do. Just put that one let's put that 0 right in the tens place. So the 2 will go in the 100, in the thousands place. The 1 goes in the 100th place, and the 0 goes in the 10th place. And so let's write it now. So you have 0.02 for the 100th place. No, let's say 1s for the 100th place. 0, 1s for the 100th place, 2 for the 1,000th place, and we write back the original numbers that were there. And so each digit is actually shifted 2 steps behind. And that's simply for dividing decimal with powers of 10. So we actually shift the whole numbers depending on how many zeros that we have in the divisor, and just that simply.